Well, unfortunately, it's taken such a tragic attack to bring to the fore of the policy agenda, not just in Europe, but also with Turkey, that there has to be more intensified international collaboration on the fight against terror, and particularly ISIS, but also in trying to find a solution to the Syrian crisis, which are all interlinked, and of course the refugee crisis, which has also affected Europe. And there, I think, in all of these areas, Turkey has a very important role to play, not only because it hosts over 2 million Syrian refugees, but also because it shares a very long border with Syria and has actually taken the brunt of the problems associated with the Syrian war in comparison to other NATO allies who are further away from the region. This is not just something that can be tackled through military means. We see the face of the new terror, particularly with these attacks, but also in the attacks against civilians in Ankara in October. So Turkey's already dealt, the blow with this kind of terror, and of course it's been dealing with its own problems of terrorism in its fight with the separatist PKK for over 30 years. So it has a long experience in counter-terror measures, but this is a new kind of terror, as I said, that requires more collaboration on issues that go beyond security, because what we see are virtual cells that sort of emanate out of inspirations or ideas that don't necessarily connect to a broader infrastructure where they take orders. But these virtual cells can also plug into the very real international networks where they get provision of explosives and guns and finance. And these international networks are very fluid. For example, in Afghanistan, it takes about 30 different international networks to tap into to produce one of these roadside bombs. So this is actually a very global problem that requires global solutions. And for example, financial flows are one way of tackling these international networks, but also there's the security dimension, but also societal dimensions on how to deal with the populations living in Europe. And we saw this with the bombings in Britain 10 years ago. They were all homegrown terrorists like the ones in Paris. So what is social inclusion, and how do we try to avoid these tragic events from being a backlash of Islamophobia or even a backlash against refugees and the rise of more right-wing policies? These are things that, again, not just the security dimension, but Turkey has a very important role to play, I think, in the societal dimension as the only predominantly Muslim populated country in NATO and as a partner of the EU. And from what I could see, this is a predominantly economic summit, got taken over by security issues, because unfortunately the Paris attacks happened while we were all there. Already, I think Syria and the refugee crisis were going to be on the agenda and figure quite prominently. But after the Paris attacks, the G20 summit, really all the leaders saw the urgency for more immediate international collaboration, but also started to see, if they hadn't already, that the issue of international terrorism, the Syrian question and the refugee crisis are all interlinked, and they require a multitude of tools, not just security ones, to tackle them. And